Everybody, real quick, I just want to remind you that we do have a giveaway still going on. Once we hit 1,000 subscribers. Hey everybody, real quick before we jump into the video, I want to remind you that we are still doing our giveaway. Once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we're going to be giving away a piece of Titan fitness equipment. Again, haven't quite figured out what we're going to give away, but it's going to be something big, a few $100s worth of value. Along with some First Form products or Acta, whichever you prefer. So all you gotta do to enter, comment on all our videos, like our videos, and subscribe to the channel. If you're subscribed and you comment, that's one entry. For every comment you leave, that's another entry. All right, one other thing real quick. I am entered into the Mr. Health and Fitness contest put on by Muscle and Fitness magazine. If you don't mind, go down below. I'll put the link in the description. Just click on that. Give me a vote if you like. If you don't, vote for whoever you think should win. All right. Y'all have a great day. Back to the video. Hey everybody. I hope you're having a great day today. I wanted to create a different type of video. And one thing that kind of stuck out in my mind as to what I could do to help you would be a video on how to grow your bench. Now, first off, I'm not a world-class powerlifter. I'm not someone who's throwing up insane numbers, but I've taken my bench and increased it significantly over the last 2 years without changing my body weight, really kind of staying consistent with my body weight, but still seeing progressive increases over my bench. Not only that, I've also had several of my clients hit personal bests on their bench press recently, and I love looking at the bench and seeing, where people are failing, how I can adjust them, make sure their technique's right, make sure they're contracting the muscles correctly and getting everything out of their bench they possibly can. So I wanted to do a little bit longer video today. So I'm gonna put timestamps down below to where you can skip around. You don't have to watch the whole video. If you're a beginner, this whole video will be very beneficial to you. If you've been training for a little while, parts of it may be helpful. If you're a long-term strongman, powerlifter, or somebody who's been doing it for decades, there might not be a whole lot that can help you, but it'll be closer to the end. All right. So really wanted to throw this out there, see if it helps anybody. I hope it does. If it does, please comment below. Tell me if you liked it. I can do other videos like this in the future. First thing I want to talk about is really identifying your weak points. For a beginner, you may not know what your weak point is, and we'll talk about that when we get into the techniques. But if you've been bench pressing for any kind of significant amount of time, or you understand where you're failing at and you're trying to fix that, that's what you need to look at first. So on the bench press, when you're doing yours, so on the bench press, when you're doing your bench, and you get to a point that you can't lift anymore, when you press down, when you're pressing, do you get to the point where you stop when the bar is on your chest and you just can't budge it? Or is it a motion where you get partially way up and then you stall and you can't go up any further and then you end up giving out? Those are the two common fail points. Now, there are other issues with uneven grips. There's issues with unbalanced strength, so the bar's tilting as you come up, and we'll talk about all that. But the first thing you want to do is really hone in on what part of the bench you're failing on. For me, if I can get it off of my chest, more times than not, I'm going to get it up.
That's what she said.
That's because I focus a lot on tricep development. My chest is a little bit more my weak point. My genetics, I don't have a massive chest, but I can grow shoulders and arms a lot better than I can chest. So I use those to kind of overcome my weakness in my chest. So let's talk a little bit about technique and proper form. Now, this is for beginners. So there's a lot of disagreement on proper bench. Now, so I'm looking at it from a personal trainer aspect. I'm trying to get the most muscle development, recruit the most muscles, and keep you stable throughout the whole exercise. The whole exercise. Now, if you're a power lifter, your technique is going to be different. If you're a bodybuilder, your technique might be a little different. Depending on what field you're going in, your technique's going to vary. Now, my technique, I feel, can cross over into all the other ones. You may feel different, but this is the way I train my clients, and so far all my clients are showing improvements. So one thing that always will hinder your bench press is your legs. Now, you'll see a lot of videos of power lifters and people tucking their legs way back and getting a huge bow in their back. That benefits people who are trying to do powerlifting, because that's going to increase their chest, or it's going to raise their chest higher, and it's going to decrease the range of motion. Now, if you're wanting to get high numbers but with very low range of motion, that's the technique you can use. My personal opinion is plant your legs, sit down at a 90-degree angle, plant your feet hard. All right, when you lay back, your butt should be on the bench and your shoulders should be on the bench as well. When you get ready to press, you're going to make a little bit of an arch in your lower back, but your butt and your shoulders are still placed on the bench. Grab the bar at a comfortable width, slightly outside your shoulders. You're going to bring your shoulder blades back and kind of create a gap down your spine. You're going to take in a deep breath, bring it down, touch your chest, and then exhale on the way up. So, again, feet placement stays slightly to the side and front, and you want to drive your feet into the ground. If you're tapping your feet or moving your feet side to side, you're losing a lot of power that you can generate from your lower body, because if you press into the ground and push, it's going to push all the way up through your body. With the back, and when I was saying create kind of a gap down your spine, you're bringing your shoulders together and it's locking your shoulders in place. And now this is going to create more stability in the shoulder. So you're, instead of pressing up and back like this with your shoulders stay back, you're bringing your arms down, touching your chest, and going right back out. Now this shortens that range of motion slightly, but it also creates more stability and reduces injuries. I used to have a lot of shoulder issues in my right shoulder when I was doing heavy bench, and after changing my position to this, I've reduced significantly the amount of pain I experience in my right shoulder. When you're doing your bench press, to grow it, this is where my technique kind of differs from a lot of other people's techniques, or I would say a lot of others, but like power lifters with the big arch in their back, their feet tucked way behind them, it reduces that range of motion. Well, if I'm trying to grow all these muscles, I need to do the full range. I need to drop down really deep, touch my chest, make sure the bar actually touches, but I don't want to release that contraction. So when I come down, my chest is still tight and tense, but I'm not sinking into my chest or completely relaxing at the bottom, but I'm getting that full stretch with a little bit of contraction. And then when I press up, I'm going all the way up. Now, in some of my videos, you'll probably notice I don't lock out 100% on every rep, but that's just to kind of avoid any damage to my elbow. I've had elbow pain in the past. So when I'm doing my normal exercise reps, I'm focusing on squeezing. But again, that goes back to my failures. I don't typically fail with tricep part of it. So if I'm doing a rep max, I'll lock out, but I never have that issue at the end of it. Mine's always at the bottom. So when I'm doing my press, I'm going deep in my press, and then I'm coming up, and I'm getting pretty much a lockout. I'm just not hyperextending my elbows. So make sure you're going that full range of motion so you engage every muscle that's helping push that weight up. Okay, so that's the basics on the bench press, on how to get set up, how to create your stance. Now, again, there's going to be a lot of people that disagree with me on this. That's fine. Bench press is there's a lot of variabilities when it comes to bench press depending on what your goal is. So for the purposes of this video, is to increase your bench, your muscle development, and your growth without setting you up for a powerlifting competition. If you're wanting to get into that type of bench press, I might make a video for that later down the road. For this one, we are focusing solely on overall strength and muscle development. Now, powerlifting, you can get a lot of strength out of it, but you're not going to see definition, you're not going to see growth the same way that you would getting this type of bench. All right, now, still kind of staying in the, I guess you would consider beginner range, let's talk about muscle contraction. When doing the bench press, you're recruiting several different muscle groups. You have the pectoral major and minor. You also have your anterior deltoids, which is that little knot on the front of your shoulder. And you have the tricep. All of these muscles work together to press forward. Now, obviously the major muscles are going to be your chest and your tricep. Your shoulders do play a significant part, but chest and triceps are where most people end up failing on their bench press. Like I said in the portion talking about identifying failures, your chest is going to be the part that you need to develop more if you're failing from here to about here. You know, that's picking it up off your chest, getting the motion going. Now, and it's also going to be a little bit shoulders, but once you get past about the halfway mark, if you're failing there, you need to work a little more on the tricep development. I have two clients, complete opposites right now. One, if he gets it off his chest, he locks out. I have another one who would get it off his chest every time. He could go 30 pounds above his actual max, get it off his chest, but he could not lock it all the way out. So I had to create their program slightly different. Now, if you've identified your failure, then I can help you from there. Now we'll talk about which one of those you move, what exercises to do to identify each failure. But until then, let's talk about muscle contraction. A lot of people think they're exercising, they're moving the muscles and they're growing, but if you can't control that muscle on a normal basis, like if you can't flex that muscle, you can't flex it when you're lifting. So it sounds odd, a lot of people laugh when I tell them this, but practice flexing all the different muscles in the mirror. You know, squeeze your chest together, get that tension, make it tense up. Do the same with the shoulder, raise your arm up, move it around, get that feeling in that anterior delt. Lock out your arm, work on that tricep, get control of your muscle. Controlling your muscle will help to growing your muscle, I promise you. It will also help you in the development on your bench, because if you know how to squeeze your chest, once you get here, you can start squeezing to help you drive that bar up. Same with tricep. If you know how to flex your tricep, once you get to your sticking point midway, you can really work on locking out by squeezing them triceps. So if you've been working out for a little while, you're not considered a beginner when it comes to bench press. You know how to set up your position, you're comfortable with that, you know how to squeeze the muscle groups and push through the bench press. Then let's talk about some things that can help you move on to the intermediate level. One thing people often fail to do is take advantage of that negative. When I say negative, I mean the downward. So bench press is all about pushing the bar away, but you've got to control the downward motion. If you drop it down and hit your chest or bounce it off your chest, you're not doing anything wrong, but you are missing out on an opportunity to really improve the muscle tear, because when you exercise, you're tearing the muscles down, causing micro tears in your muscle. When they build back up, they get stronger. Now, the way the muscle contracts is it kind of crawls up itself, and when you relax, it relaxes and it slides back into place. So the muscle contracts and then releases. When you contract your muscle and you go down in a negative or go really slow and fight the bar down, that muscle doesn't relax completely, and it just digs into itself and tears slowly as it comes down. So it increases that muscle tear. That's why it hurts so much more, because it's actually tearing down your muscles more. All right. So if you press the bar up and then you come down really slow, touch your chest, you're getting almost double the work out of one rep that you would have if you had just done one. Now, that's not something you want to do with extremely high weights. You want to do this with weights that you can control for 8 to 10, maybe 12 reps. Also, you want to make sure that you have a spotter, or you want to have the catch bars at a point to where you can drop the bar off without it crushing you, because obviously negatives are going to take a lot of energy out of you, and when you get to your chest and you can't get it back up, you've got to figure out a way to bail out. So negatives are a huge tool to use to increase your bench. All right, so we've talked about tearing down the muscle using the negative, but one thing people don't think about is the recovery. If you're not getting the proper nutrients, the protein, the calories, you're not going to recover your muscles, and you're not going to grow your bench. So a lot of people disagree on this. There are, studies saying how much protein you should take. There's different people who think you should take X, Y, Z amount of protein. What I found that works for me, and this is something that I do on a daily basis, I try to get between 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per body pound that I want to be. So currently I weigh about 190 pounds. I'm happy with that weight. I sometimes want to take in a little more because I want to grow my bench, which probably is going to increase my body weight. So I'm taking in between 190 to 200 grams of protein a day. Now, I also watch my carbs and fats at the same time to kind of balance out overall. So I'm tracking my calories, but I'm making sure I hit my protein goal. You've got to get your protein in. If you don't get your protein in, you're not going to recover. You're going to be sore you're going to be a lot more sore the following days, and it can impede your exercises that you do for the auxiliary work that's going to help increase your bench in the long run, such as like arm day, shoulder day, stuff like that. So if you're too sore to exercise, you're not recovering fast enough, and then on top of that, you're not getting the extra work in that you could if you had recovered. Diet is a huge thing. Not saying restrictive diet, just your daily diet. Make sure you're getting in what you need. All right, so beyond just the basics of how to do a bench press, or make sure you're doing your negatives, make sure you're getting your diet right, there are other things you can do to increase your bench. Now, one thing that has shown a huge improvement on me in just the last few years is I've gone to doing push style exercises twice a week. So what that means is not necessarily doing bench twice a week, but doing exercise that improve my bench twice a week. So I go one day, I will do strictly bench, I will do heavy, and then I'll do long-term endurance style exercises. I'll do a very chest heavy day, and on my next push day, I'll do some chest just to get in a little extra work on it, as long as I'm not super sore. And then I'll do exercises like anterior delts focused, tricep focused, to really help with the push overall. Now, that may not work for you. It may work for some people, depending on how often you can work out, what your true goals are trying to be. But for my goals, I'm able to work out 6-7 days a week. But if you're not only able to work out 3 days a week, just do a really heavy push day focus. You can do bench press, you can do shoulder press, you can do tricep extensions. Try to get all those muscles working together. So let's talk about a little bit about auxiliary exercises that you can do to increase your bench. What has shown to improve for me is making sure that when I'm doing my bench press, I start off with bench. That's my goal, is to grow my bench as much as possible. So every day that I do chest, I start with bench press. All right, build up, do my set, my reps, and we'll talk about sets and reps and what I have seen to be beneficial. But do a full set of that, and then I move on to my other presses. Now, again, my goal is to press the weight, as much weight as possible. So instead of going from, say, bench press to flies, I go to another press style exercise. Now, my gym, we don't have a whole lot of machines, but we have dumbbells, we have barbells, we have some cables, and we have a pec deck, but I go straight into dumbbells. It can be tons of different variations. So like I said, my weakness is my chest, so I focus in on the pressing motion. So the chest, heavy stuff, some flies. But dumbbell press, huge benefit. You can do a ton of different variations with dumbbell press. So for instance, I start with a flat bench, start in the bench press position, touch my shoulders, and as I come up, I rotate and I twist to kind of squeeze that chest together. Get a nice squeeze in there, tensing it up even more than what I typically could do here. Because from here to here, I'm engaging my upper chest and my anterior delt. But when I do just that little rotation, I can feel the tension increase all the way around. So just that little bit of rotation will help. And you'll see that in some of the machines that you'll find in like Gold's or Lifetime or wherever you may work out, where you have the upright seated bench and it's individual arms plate loaded. As you push, it comes together and your hands are in this position. You're not in this position, you're not straight up and down, you're kind of slightly tilted in. So when you're doing that press, you get that rotation, that'll help increase that squeeze. And that's where I talk about controlling the muscle, contracting the muscle. If you get that good squeeze in, you can tear it down more. And again, when I come down, I don't just drop, I come down slow, all right? So that's some auxiliary chest exercises. Dumbbells, huge, and will help you increase your bench greatly. So after chest, you've got your shoulders, you've got your anterior delts, and a little bit of medial delts, so the middle and the front. Both of those engage during your exercises as well. So you want to do some incline press. You can be barbell, it can be dumbbell. I like dumbbell because not only am I engaging my anterior delt, but I'm also engaging a little more in my chest because I go up and together, so I get that full contraction. Your chest doesn't just push out, it pushes out and in. So getting the dumbbells to do the incline as well. On top of that, we talked about flies a second ago. You can start implementing your flies when you start to get to your shoulders. You reach, because they get a good wide spread on your chest, extend out, and then come down together or out together or up. So you can do flies in many different angles to get all those different muscles. If you do flies from a low grip to a high grip, you can really engage that anterior delt and squeeze tight on the chest at the same time. So you're getting all of this. Now, what you want to do is after you've burned out your chest and your shoulders, you want to go to your triceps to finish off. Make sure you're getting triceps in on your chest day. Even if you have an arm day dedicated, do a little bit of triceps at the end, whether it be some close grip press, which really focuses in on tricep but also gets everything else. It can be a kind of a burnout. Do some tricep extensions. You can do it with dumbbells, cables. Change up your grip because your tricep can be engaged in a lot of different ways. So if you're doing underhand with a bar extending down, you can do straight down, you can do rope, you can do a bent bar. Every little bit of adjustment to your hands changes the way it hits your tricep. So don't do the exact same tricep exercise at the end of your chest every day. Change it up. Go with straight bar press downs, do rope press downs, do overhead extensions, do different things. A lot of people get into the routine of doing what they like and what feels good when they lose a lot of benefits of the different angles. All right, so everything we've talked about will benefit people from beginning all the way up to intermediate. If you've been doing this for years now and you're just plateaued, you're stuck, much like one of my clients who he'd been training just as long as I have. We worked out together in high school actually. He was seeing himself stick at a certain weight and couldn't get past that. So that's when we went back to the beginning. We looked at where he was failing. We were trying to identify what's causing that failure. Now, for his instance, his was on the extension. So at the very top, from the midway point up, he could do a lot of weight from his chest to the midpoint. Once he got to that midpoint, he would fail on the lockout. So that told me his triceps needed more development to match up with his chest. So what we did is we like I said earlier, we made sure he started doing tricep at the end of every chest day, and he did another press slash tricep day. So exercises that you can really benefit you on that part would be close grip press. Now when I say close grip press, I don't mean like putting your hands together on the bar and getting a lot of twisting in your wrist. That's not going to help you. If it's going to just put a lot of damage on your wrist. So when you do close grip versus normal grip, so your normal grip, say it's right here, all you have to do is slide in to where your hands are just over your shoulders. So if you bring your elbows in and your hands fall to your shoulders, grab about that far apart. Now you see there's not a lot of twist in my wrists. You're going to come down slightly lower on your chest than you would for a bench press. So a lot of people, they'll come down to their stomachs or below the rib cage. Don't go that far down. Just bring your elbows to your side, to right under your chest, press back up. Now, this close grip is really going to focus in on that tricep. Because instead of out here where you're coming from a wide chest and you have to use your chest to bring it back together, this whole motion is keeping your elbows tucked in tight so you can still press with your triceps here. Press up all the way up, all right? Sorry, I keep looking over here because I can see myself and I can make sure I'm showing you right. Obviously, you can do any tricep exercise you want to increase your tricep strength, but close grip is a huge addition to my bench, and it really helps you continue to grow every muscle, but with an emphasis on the tricep. Now, on top of that, skull crushers. Now, they are a little more dangerous, so if you don't have a spotter, if you don't have a way to bail out without hitting yourself in the face, don't do them. But if you can do the tricep skull crusher, one way to do it here to get even more benefit in your tricep is to get set, go into the tricep press, and then press back out. Now, once you get to a point where you can no longer press or you need to bail out, you can just drop your elbows to your side and it brings it down to your chest, and then you can go straight into tricep press or close grip press. And then you can burn out here. So once you've done as many skull crushers as you can drop down to your chest and knock out a bunch of close grip to burn it out even more. Those two exercises I try to implement at least once, maybe twice a week. Those are some exercises to really help you grow your tricep strength. So if your fail point is the lockout, that'll help. Make sure you're locking all the way out on every rep. Now, if your fail point's on your chest, which one of my other clients is having that issue, I could help them. I could tap the bar, get it off their chest, and then they go all the way up. But they couldn't get it from here to here by themselves. So what I had them do is when we started on bench press, we would do normal, however many sets, reps we did, and we'll talk about my suggestion for that later. We would go through the whole bench press rotation, and after that we would go to wide grip. Now, you have to be careful on certain racks. You can pinch your hands, depending on how tall you are. If you're a taller person, your normal grips are already pretty wide. If you get any wider, you might pinch your hands. So if your normal grip is slightly outside your shoulders, just slide it out about 3 to 4 inches on each side. So you may have to drop your J hooks just a little bit because it's going to decrease your range of motion. But as you come down, you're going to expand that chest even more. You're going to drop down your elbows are going to go down even further. Now, one thing about this though, you have to make sure you're coming down on your chest right above about the nipple line. If you come down too low, all you're engaging right now is your anterior shoulder, your anterior delts. So you're going to put a lot of pressure on those shoulders. It's going to pull them forward. Make sure you're keeping your elbows up and high and pressing up. I will say, with that exercise, wide grip press, you don't want to go heavy. You've already gone heavy on your bench. You've worn out your chest a lot. Doing those with a normal bench, you have a slight kind of angle down with your elbows. and you're coming down, you're going to touch right about across the nipples. All right, that's your typical bench range. With narrow press, you're coming down a little bit lower, you're touching right below the chest. With this one, you're coming out really wide and stretching that chest as much as possible, and the bar is going to touch right across the upper chest. So when you do this, you're getting a lot of stretch and a lot of tension in those shoulders and that chest. You don't want to go super heavy. You got a lot of room for injury right there. All right, you're opening that joint up really wide, putting a lot of pressure. So what I would typically do is I would do my bench up through however many sets and reps, and then when I went to wide, I would reduce the weight back to about my second set of bench on my warm-up. Start there and then increase slightly each set that I could, but I wouldn't go big jumps like I did on bench. All right, so very wide grip press. You could also do this with dumbbells. You know, you can do your dumbbells in a normal bench range, or you can just tilt those elbows out and get a wider stretch and really focusing on that. And then other exercises to really increase chest strength, strictly chest strength, is flies, particularly downward flies. So as you bring those cables up to a high point, you come down together, squeeze, and you can even slightly rotate your hands at the bottom to get even more squeeze on that chest. All right, so really hone in on where you're failing and think about what muscle groups need to be increased from there. All right, so we've talked about technique, we've talked about form, talked about diet, negatives, exercises, auxiliary exercises to do to increase overall. Let's talk, so at this point, I'm going to talk a little bit more about specific bench press plans, programs. Again, you may completely disagree with me on this. That's fine. People develop differently. I don't use the same program for all my clients because I have some clients who develop differently. So if this doesn't work for you, that's fine. But if it does, let me know. I'd like to know how it affected your bench. You can do your whole chest workout the way you want. But I start my chest day most of the time like this right here. So initial is your warm-up. Start with the bar, something really light that you know you can do for 10 to 20 reps. Knock out about 10 to 12 to get your chest and your shoulders warmed up. You don't want to start off with 200 pounds on the bench press or half of your max. So for me, my bench is in the high 300s. I start off with about 135. I knock out 10 to 12 reps, get my joints warmed up, then move on to a heavier set. I jump up to 25. I knock out, make sure I can still get 10 to 12 reps. After you've done 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps to get everything warmed up and going, that's when you need to make a big jump. All right, jump up to a weight that you know you can do for at least 6 reps and try to knock out a few more than that. So now I'm doing like 295. I get between 7, 8 reps and I start to fail. So I rack it. Then you want to go up even more. You want to get to the point, your first 2 sets are going to be high reps with medial weight. Then you're going to go heavy weight for kind of like that 6 to 8 range for a few sets. Then you're going to do about 1 to 2 sets of really heavy weight that you can probably only do 3 to 4 reps. And then you're going to drop back down to something that you know you can do at least 10 times and shoot for 12 to 15 reps for a few more sets. So you're going to end up doing about 6 to 7 sets of bench press. 12, 12, 6 to 8, 6 to 8, 3 to 4, 3 to 4, then back down. All right. So it's kind of like a pyramid, but you're getting your body acclimated to that heavier weight as you go. Now, I do that on a weekly basis. That's my build up and then my progression down. So for just numbers sake, mine typically go 135, 12, 225, 12, 275 to 295 for 10 to 12, or 275 for 12, 295 for 10, 8 to 10, 315 for however many I can. Try it one more time, and then I drop back down to like 225, 255, knock out as many as I can, and then if I still feel good, I might do one more set. All right. every now and then, maybe once every 2 to 3 weeks, I do I call it progressive overload. I may be using that term wrong, but I take weight that I know I can't press, but I know I can hold. So for me, my max is currently 380. I'll put 405 or 450 on the bench, and I'll unrack it and hold it. And then I'll get set in my position, make sure I'm not in any kind of danger of hurting myself. But I go between 30 to 50 pounds over my max, sometimes a little bit higher depending on how good I feel, if I'm not having any pain. And then I just hold it for a few seconds, and then I rack it. All right. What this is doing is one, it's mentally preparing you for heavier weight. If you can hold 405 on that bar and it doesn't scare you to hold it and you can get comfortable with it, when you go back down to what your max was, you're not going to freak out about, going 5 pounds heavier than where you were before. A lot of times people get in their minds. They see that third plate go on for 315, or they see that fourth plate going for 405, and then in their mind they're thinking, I can't do this. This is way more than I've ever done, and they start getting in their head. If you're already comfortable holding that weight, once you get ready to press it, it's going to be a lot less stressful, a lot less mental involved. On top of that, your joints are going to already get used to holding that weight. They're going to strengthen over time by holding that weight heavier and heavier and heavier. Your body's going to get used to pressing that weight heavier and heavier. So do that every now and then to just kind of get your body prepared for when you go for your next big weight. And then lastly, if you skipped over the first part of the video because you've been training for a while and you're interested in trying this program, when you're doing that progression up and you get to that weight that you're barely getting a 2 to 3 rep range, obviously please have a spotter or some kind of system to bail out of, but make sure you're implementing the negative. Negatives play a huge role in this, and I cannot stress this enough. I've talked about it on my Instagram, I've talked about it on some other social media. Negatives will help you grow, they'll help you tear down the muscle more, and they also help you with the control and stability, because if you can get near your max and you can come down slow, touch your chest, and go back up, then the pressing is going to be no problem. If you can control it down, you should be able to push it back up a lot easier. So make sure you're tossing in negatives once you get to that heavy weight. Don't do it on your 1 rep max. That's just going to cause a lot of stress on your shoulders, your joints, and you could lead to injuries. I don't know if you've seen the video with Larry Wills, and I forget the guy's name, where he's doing incline bench press with a ton of weight. As he's coming down really slow and controlled. He might not be doing a negative per se, but he is doing it controlled and slow, which is putting a lot of extra stress on that joint. And you just see his chest muscle pop and tear and roll up into his chest. Don't do negatives with super heavy weight. If you can do 3 or 4 reps of it comfortably and then you knock out 1 or 2 negatives, that's fine. But if you're going for your 1 rep max, I highly recommend you stay away from the negative on your 1 rep. But make sure you implement it. They do help, I promise. All right. So I know I probably could talk all day about bench press. I don't want to take up more time than I already have. This video is probably going to be way longer than I expected anyway. But what I want you to do is, if you have questions, comments, concerns about anything I said, comment below. I'd like to talk to you. If you've looked at any of our other videos, I try to respond to any kind of questions or any kind of comments leading to more information. If you try this program and it works for you, let me know. If you try this program and it doesn't work, reach out to me. Maybe we can talk about something. We are a personal training facility. We do virtual training. We do one-on-one, in person. So we do groups sometimes. If you follow our channel, you'll see some of the replay videos where we do group fitness. Reach out to us. We love to help you in any way we can. As always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment below, tell us what you liked about it, and consider subscribing to our channel. We are doing a giveaway. I talked about it earlier, so don't forget that. And stay safe, stay healthy, stay fit. Hope you have a great day. See you soon.